a myth. I hope we can come to some kind of understanding by the end of today's talk. I've put very cute monsters on the screen, they're not very scary ones, they're very sweet ones. They're all the children's monsters. And when were you told that you are supposed to be happy in life? Think about it. At what point did you as an individual feel that you have to be happy in life? There must have been a point, there must have been a reason why you chose this option of let me be happy. There are a lot of people who say that I'm not unhappy, I'm not sad, I'm not happy, it's okay. I'm just there. God has given me and I'm fine. This is one of the most common answers. People are so afraid to talk about their own happiness. So I'm finding it quite funny. Happiness, technically, I'm taking the most latest definition in terms of what happiness is. This is on the basis of positive psychology, because happiness is something which was not studied earlier. Before positive psychology came, people weren't trying to figure out why people are happy. Researchers were busy trying to figure out why people are unhappy. So there was far too much research on all the negative sides of individual's personality, very little on the positive. And this, by this definition by Sonia Lyubomirsky, experience of joy, contentment, positive well-being combined with a sense that one's life is good, meaningful, worthwhile. Very simple. Meaning is feeling or showing pleasure. So the fact is, happiness is a feeling. It's an emotion. Most of us connect sadness and happiness as emotion. In psychology also, your 7 basic emotions. One of them is joy, right? So what makes you happy? What makes us happy? Things make us happy. People make us happy. Situations make us happy or unhappy. These are things which create an emotion. These are options which create an emotion which are within us, and we think that happiness is the outcome of either things, people, or situation. When happiness is an outcome, you can be sure that it is changing, because it is dependent either on something or on somebody or on a situation. Happiness can also come from your thoughts. Those of you who practice CBT, when you work with clients who are in depression, we are not trying to change their situation, we're trying to change their thoughts. So what are we telling them to do? We are telling them to think differently, reframe, restructure the situation in their head, and we expect that they will experience a lightness and lose the darkness that has come because of depression. Is it really all that difficult? A lot of what I'm talking about today comes from this course called the Science of Well-Being. It is run by Yale University. It's also currently available on Coursera for free. So those of you who would like to understand well-being a little more, happiness a little more, please do sign up for that course. It's one of the best-selling courses of Yale, so to speak. Yale has all these fantastic courses in all these different subjects, but this is one course that so many students apply for every year. And their professor Laurie Santos, when she put together this course, she was not expecting this kind of feedback, but she was shocked to see that everybody's trying to be happy. What are the things we think make us happy? Good marks, good health, good body, the love of someone special, money, car, house. And we'll say we don't want very big house, and it's like, we are apologizing for wanting. We'll say that no, it's not like I want a lot of money or a very fancy car or a very big house. Simple, all my basic needs should be met and I'm happy. And the thing is, our basic needs never end. Our basic needs go on and on and on, and we are still saying that's the basic need. So why am I calling happiness a monster? I'm hearing other things. Somebody needs to mute their mic. Yeah, so why am I calling happiness a monster? So the root word for monster comes from Latin. Most of our English words come from Latin and Greek. It comes from something called monster. Basically, it means to demonstrate or to warn. A monster is something that is here to warn you about something and to show you that be careful. And I think that is why happiness needs to be called a monster, because a monster is something that warns us. Just look at the pictures on the screen and tell me what is wrong with wanting good marks. What is wrong with wanting good health or a basic house? There's nothing wrong with it. But research across the decades, especially since 2000, because that's when positive psychology got a huge boost. In the past 20 years, research right from United States to Europe, to a country like Rwanda, which on the World Happiness Index is right at the bottom, right at the bottom 10. They seem to show the same things, same results when it comes to happiness. If happiness was connected to all these beautiful material things, then countries like Rwanda should not be experiencing happiness, right? They don't have this kind of wealth, but they do experience happiness. What is it that allowed them to experience happiness in the absence of all this? Today, with the coronavirus pandemic, a big stress for everyone is what's going to happen to the economy, what's going to happen to our jobs, what's going to happen to these poor people who live on the roads. And if you talk to these poor people who live on the roads, they are quite happy because I have friends who because I have friends who are doing some kind of help and distributing food to them. So when we were talking to them, they were pretty chill. They were like, no, it's okay. We are very happy. Otherwise, we had to beg for food. Now food comes to us. So they're saying that they are very comfortable. And I'm talking about these extremely marginalized people who live on the roads also, who don't even have a hut. So there is something wrong in our understanding of happiness, and we need to relook that definition. This is last night. I just picked this up from Amazon.com.in. What are the top selling products? What are the categories in which products are being sold? And why am I looking at this? I'm looking at this because if people know what happiness is, the thing that probably sells the most should be things like books, things which are probably stuff which make you experience happiness rather than products. And when I'm talking about it, look at the things that are being sold. Like on the left side, the number one thing which is being sold is portable blender, spider nail gel, wireless phone charger. On the right side, look, the number one thing is pet bed, sofa and cushions, minimalist jewelry. So it's not even like these products are daily use products and they're essentials. But these are the top selling products. Again, things make us happy. These are the things that we are buying in the hope that we are going to get happy. And if this is what we are focusing on, is it any wonder that I call happiness a monster? These are the best ads in the world of all time. This is again something which I picked up last night. Now the first two are again commercial products, Nike and Coke. The last three are alcoholic products, right? Coke also, of course, is a great support to alcohol. So what exactly is it that we are spending or using our creativity to market? Are we using our creativity to sell concepts which will make people happy? Or are we using our creativity to tell people what they need to make them happy? And that's something that we need to think about. Not all of us are going to want to go sit on top of a mountain and meditate and say, okay, this is it. I don't want anything else in life. I will just be happy over it. We all have certain material needs. Research says that up to a certain point, if those basic needs are not met, you cannot talk about happiness. Like if you're talking about Syria, you're talking about Afghanistan, you're talking about some of these countries where people don't know whether they will be alive 5 minutes from now, they can't talk about happiness. They do not. I am not referring to those. I'm also not talking about those people who are battling depression, who are battling clinical depression, or who are battling bipolar disorder. These certain severe mood disorders where we cannot just sit and talk about happiness in very frivolous terms. Those are intensely biochemical processes along with being emotional processes. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the general public who think that all they want in life is happiness. And yes, and not everyone wants to sit on a mountain. I'd be very happy to give up everything, sit on a mountain, but not everybody wants to do that. Everybody thinks that I need my basic things and then I'm set. Now the problem is the basic things do not end. And you know this and I know this. A lot of what we're going to be talking about, you already know this. Are we chasing happiness? Yes, we are, because we are checking out what is the newest thing that I need to have. Think about the masks that you need to buy for coronavirus. Now what is being sold are those colorful masks which will match your clothes. And which mask? Should I have an N95 mask, or should I have whatever different type of mask, or should I just put a dupatta around my face? I am just chasing something. Why? Because I have been told wear a mask, it will keep me safe and it will save me from death. It will save me from passing on my infection to others. basic hygiene and care is one level. But if people are selling off pretty masks, and the mask I was checking on some of the websites, they're selling a set of 3 masks for 400 rupees or something, a set of 6 masks for 700 rupees. Very nice, pretty masks. Everything gets converted into commercial. Something that was meant to be there for your basic safety is now commercial process, which is why I've shown that we are chasing it. We are not looking at masks. I know quite a few people, in fact, some of my own students, the NSS team of my college is doing this. They've been making masks and distributing it to people and to centers and agencies. So we can make our masks, no? But we are chasing something else. And right now we are chasing remedies. We are chasing cure. We are chasing what is it that can save me from coronavirus. A lot of it is basic self-care hygiene. Sit at home, don't trouble others, don't let others trouble you. Wash your hands, be clean, keep your surroundings clean. But we will find a complicated way to do it because we want to be happy that we've done that. Happiness is considered to be of 2 types. Most psychology students or people who are in the field will understand this term. Hedonistic happiness. We refer to it as a hedonic treadmill. Hedonism is what? Anything which makes you feel good. Sensual self-indulgence means senses, your 5 senses. Food should taste good. I should see nice things. I should hear nice things. I should feel. I should wear nice soft silk and sleep on comfortable beds. So all my 5 senses should be satisfied. And we are constantly on the treadmill to satisfy that. If you see that guy who's trying to catch the carrot, that particular picture, I think that's a beautiful picture because that's exactly what we are running and to stay in the same place. And in psychology, we also have this term, positive psychology has given us this term, it's called hedonic adaptation, which means, and this is not something which is just some researcher has thought up of, this happens neurologically. The minute you reach one set point, your brain will adapt to that set point and it will be considered normal. So you will want the next level. It is the way drug addicts want more and stronger dosages, want to have more quantity. Same concept. Why? And when you talk to a drug addict and you say, why can't you give it up? Ask yourself also this, why can't you stop? You can't because you have hedonic adaptation. Basically, your brain has a button. It has a set point. But the set point is not fixed. It keeps changing. So they did this research it was a long-term research where they asked students in college that, this was at Yale University, that when you pass out, what is the salary you want? What do you think will make you happy? And after they got that salary, they asked how happy do you feel and stuff like that. Then they followed them up after a couple of years and asked them, do you still feel happy with the salary? They'll be like, no, I think if I get this much salary, I'll be very happy. So it went from $50,000 to $100,000 to $150,000. So they just kept increasing, saying that I think if I have $100,000, I'll be happy. And this is what someone who's earning $50,000 has said. And at the same time, the researchers went around checking the subjective well-being or the happiness levels of people across. And they found that most people in that age bracket for that education were generally happy with a salary of $55,000 to $60,000. So even if you're happy with what you have, you think that if I get something more, I will be happier. And once you reach there, you still think I will need something more. So a lot of times what you think you want is not accurate. We keep miswanting. And that is why I've put those weighing scale, what you need versus what you want. Now, these are things which, your grandparents probably told you, our religious leaders have told you, but now research in psychology is pointing out to the exact same things. Wanting stuff which you think will make you happy doesn't really help, because every time your brain goes on a reset mode, and if you've reached 5, if you were at 0, you think that 5 will help. The minute you come to 5 and you spend some time in 5, the brain has reset and your 0 has disappeared and your baseline is now 5. From 5, if you go to 10, brain will reset and 10 will become your baseline. So there is no end. We'll keep going on and on and on. And we are all looking for that magic lamp which we can jump, which we can rub out of which a genie jumps and we will get what we want. And that is why I say happiness is a myth. You can't achieve it. Your brain neurologically will not let you achieve it because it does not have a fixed point where you can feel satisfied and content. Um, in terms of evolution, we have there's been what is called as a negativity bias. We all know this. If something good, 10 good things happen in your life and one bad things happen, we will remember that one bad thing better than we remember the 10 good things. Now, why is it so? This is, again, it's a protection from evolution, because if you're a caveman or a cave woman walking out there in the forest, it is more important for you to remember what is negative out there if you want to survive and see the next day. If you're a cave woman who is very, very positive and very, very happy and just keeps looking at the flowers and the fruits and forgets that there are lions and tigers and all kinds of other creatures coming behind you, you're dead. You don't have a tomorrow to see. So in terms of evolution, remembering negativity has been programmed into us. If you think about it, as our brain has evolved, you know, those of you who don't like biology and brain, please excuse me, not too very long, just very short. But if you essentially look at the structure of your brain, you have this part of your brain, which is called the frontal lobe, no? And a lot of your thinking, analyzing, processing, decision making, all the rational, intellectual, what we call executive functions happen over here, your prefrontal cortex. Now, if your emotions were that important, your brain should have, if being happy was that important, your brain should have had developed a happiness center. Why has it developed a thinking center? Brain has developed in stages. The last stage to develop is this part of our brain. And what has it developed? It has developed a thinking center, a cognitive center. It has not developed a happiness center. So really, is happiness so important? Something else that they found out, we wonder why we feel so guilty and ashamed. We think these are negative feelings. We shouldn't feel good. But curiously, when they did MRI, fMRI studies, they found, you know, all our brains have reward centers, pain centers and reward centers. And the person, as they go through certain experiences, certain parts of their brain lights up. Strangely, they found that when people are experiencing guilt or shame, reward centers of the brain are lighting up. Somehow we are programmed to experiencing negative emotions like guilt and shame. There's no biological brain center for happiness, but there is a biological background or biological basis for sadness and depression, not for happiness. Frontal lobe, there is more important than happiness center. And this GI Joe fallacy, again, this is neurologically proved. I don't know if you know of this military character called GI Joe. It's a toy figure which was very famous in the US, and they used to have these shows about GI Joe. So he's this toy military figure, a very strong fellow. He will go and beat up all the villains and come. And at the end of the show, he would end with the line, knowing something is half done. Which means if you know about something, half the battle is won. Which is called as a fallacy, because just because you know something doesn't mean your problem is solved. You know that chasing after money is bad. You know that eating junk food is bad. You know sitting and not moving is bad. And yet, how much time are we spending in front of the phone? How much screen time do we have? And we can blame coronavirus all we want, but we are doing this, right? So this is the GI Joe fallacy. Knowing something is not enough. From knowledge, transforming into action is a huge step, and that is a very difficult step. That is why it's not very easy to be happy. Those of you, any of you who've gone on a diet, you know this. You know what is right to do. You know you're supposed to eat well, exercise well, and still we are not able to sustain it in the long run. So knowing is not enough. What could you do instead? If you want to avoid this monster called happiness, which the world has been selling to you, and which neurologically we can prove right now is not achievable. It's not achievable because your brain keeps resetting its baseline. Choose eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is the other concept in happiness which was given to us by Aristotle. So we talk about, in happiness research, we talk about hedonistic happiness and we talk about eudaimonic happiness. Eudaimonic happiness is the one that Aristotle promoted big time, and so did Plato. What does it mean? You and daemon, good and spirit. So essentially it means good spirit. Now the spirit over here, daemon in this case, means that there is some, did someone call me? That there is some nice god or spiritual figure that is looking after you. It will be nice, no, if you know you have a known personal god who's looking after you. So if there is a kind, loving God who's looking after you, good person, you will be able to do whatever you want with a lot of confidence and with no fear. And with eudaimonia, Aristotle spoke about working for the greater good. He didn't speak about only yourself. In the Greek terminology, they use the concept of virtue, but by virtue, we have this concept and we use the word virtue, we get into good and bad. This is a good person, that is a bad person, and stuff like that. That's not what he was talking about. All the morals and the rules and the laws that have been made because we think this is good and this is bad, that's not how he functioned. He functioned with an individual should work for his or her own happiness, and in the process should try to also build other people's happiness. So simple. Of course, the word they used at that time was not happiness. The word that Aristotle gave us was eudaimonia, and after all these years, we have come back to this word. Researchers in happiness have come back to eudaimonic happiness, and they are going away from hedonistic happiness. Another word which is commonly used is subjective well-being. Subjective well-being is, there is just so much of research on subjective well-being. Every psychology BA student or MA student will like, put subjective well-being and your research work is done. It's so simple to do, and it's a concept which all of us understand. A subjective well-being is essentially your sense of satisfaction with the way things are going in your life. So there's a life satisfaction component because you're assessing your life and you're saying, okay, my life's good, my life's cool. And there's thinking process involved and there's an emotional process involved. Both are involved. You don't take any one. When we talk about happiness, we are only talking about I feel good, I feel happy, feel. It's a lot of affective. What about the cognitive? So subjective well-being is also preferred in research now for instead of just the word happiness. You have a lot of these sites. You have something called as the authentic happiness scale. You have the PERMA scale. You have scales which are measuring happiness, but they don't just refer to happy. The term they've used is authentic happiness. Because the way the world has sold the concept of happiness to us, they have sold it in such a way that it is ensuring that we will never reach it. We're talking about living life for others, and whatever we do it well. If you're a singer, you sing as well as you can. If you're a dancer, dance as well as you can. It's not that only if you can study well, get good marks, earn a lot of money, get the highest paying job, then you're happy. No, whatever you're doing, do it to achieve excellence, aim for perfection, and do it in goodness for yourself and for others. So it is aimed at, and it is not an emotional thing. Like if I talk like this, it sounds like, you know, I'm giving a lecture, like I'm sounding like some one of those religious groups or sects. It's not that. It is not at all that, though unfortunately only religion used to talk about it all these years. But today even psychology, even science is telling us the same thing. They're talking about it rationally. This is worthwhile. Choose looking after yourself and others as an activity which will be helpful for everyone. So this is 20 years of research, post-positive psychology. Before this, in the early 60s and 70s, when not even 70s, 50s and 60s, when existentialism was being promoted or was being studied in a big way, that's when they also spoke about it. But somewhere along the way, there was this massive commercialization, industrialization, whatever you want to call it. We've forgotten stuff. We moved from eudaimonic to hedonistic, and now we are coming back to eudaimonic. And this lockdown period is where people are again finding that level of happiness. They're going back to doing things in the house. You're playing cards with your family members, playing carom or Scrabble and things like that. We had forgotten to do all of this. These were like, I remember growing up with carom and Scrabble. I don't know how many of you all grew up with that. But our kids have not. Now they are learning to do it because they are learning that they can do things away from the screen if you try to encourage that in your kids. So is eudaimonia only a very spiritual lecture kind of a process? Is there any scientific basis? So again, I've given you proof in terms of the brain because I can't get more scientific than this. What happens to your brain when you are practicing eudaimonic happiness? Gratitude is one of the ways. Being grateful for things is one of the ways that you can be practicing eudaimonic happiness. And what does gratitude do? Gratitude research is immense, and the benefits, there is no side effect of gratitude. There is no excessive gratitude. Gratitude boosts your serotonin and dopamine. Instead of popping a few pills to balance your neurochemicals, start being grateful. Writing gratitude diaries, expressing gratitude regularly brings your brain functioning to a healthy level. Something which a lot of people don't understand, because we don't talk about emotions now. I remember one of the interns had told me this, that when she was trying to talk to a couple of parents and tell them that, listen, your child needs to have an emotional outlet. Now these parents, both of them were doctors, and what they told the intern is that we don't talk about emotions in our house, we're all doctors. And it's so shocking, because people seem to have forgotten what emotions are. Even if they do talk about emotions, their vocabulary is limited to some emotions that they want, and they don't know how to recognize emotion. Research shows that just by being able to identify and label an emotion correctly, especially a negative emotion, the negative impact of it is reduced. All of us talk about people, we don't like people who get angry. We have colleagues who are constantly getting angry, or our parents who constantly get angry with us, and we don't like it. But anger is a secondary emotion. The primary emotion is sadness or fear. So when somebody is angry and screaming at you, instead of getting, all bothered and saying, how dare you yell at me, if you just sit, wait, try to understand and figure out what is that person actually afraid of, or what is it that saddens the person so much that the person feels the need to lash out in anger. And put this across also to that person, when the time's right, you'll find that the person stops getting angry. Acknowledge emotions, recognize them. We're also not able to make decisions. We are constantly analyzing, should I do this, should I do this, should I do this, should I do this. Make one decision and stick to it. Don't worry about whether it is right or wrong. Just make the decision, and your brain seems to be functioning a lot more stably than when you're just going round and round and round in circles. We're also aiming for perfection, which does not help. Try to do your best, and that's it. Don't make it super best or perfect. If you have to write a 1,000-word essay, write a 1,000-word essay as honestly and as sincerely as you can. That it has to be the best, and you have to get the highest marks for it. Not important. Can you write it as well as you understood the topic? That is what actually helps. One physical touches help. Munna bhai, you don't know about Jadu ki Chappi. So yeah, touching people. I know in our culture, in Indian culture, if a guy just taps a girl, it might not be viewed so positively. But think about it. If you can't do it for someone else, you can try and do it for people who you are comfortable with. Just a tap on the shoulder or a hug. And especially when you're giving a hug, just a superficial hug does not help. A nice long hug releases oxytocin. It's called the hug hormone. It makes you feel good. Because your brain is constantly adapting and resetting your reference points, why not give it healthy reference points? Why not say that the next time someone smiles at me, I'll feel good? Why should I feel that the next time I get a raise, I'll feel good? Raise comes, you'll feel good, yes, but as research is showing that you will feel good temporarily because your brain has reset, and afterwards you'll say, I want the next raise. And I think we have only 10 minutes. So what are the things that you could do? This is again research, pure validated research. It is not me giving lecture. What are the things that you need to do? Savor, express gratitude, be kind, exercise, and sleep. And I'm going to do each one of them. What is savoring? Essentially just relishing, enjoying, and cherishing that moment. A lot of people are now talking about mindfulness. Mindfulness has become a big deal. Mindfulness is just that, being in the moment, to pay attention to what you're doing when you're doing it. That is savoring. It helps you to, if you're sharing your good feeling, what is a good way to savor? Like if you've eaten something which is fantastic, you go and tell someone, wow, I really enjoyed it. Click a picture of it after you've eaten, not before you've eaten, because that's what people are doing on Instagram, clicking photos before they actually eat it. It improves your sensory perceptions. Share the good news. Compare it to, oh man, if I wouldn't have eaten this, I would have been in such a bad state. So understand the value of it. That is called savoring. Always remember to count your blessings. And the last point, time affluence. Something which I want to emphasize, we are always short of time. The happiest people are people who have time. And not because they're doing nothing, but because they know how to give more value to important things. Thankful. What is most important? Be humble. To be able to say thank you to someone else, you have to accept that what that person has done for you is worthwhile and that it was good for you. That takes a fair amount of humility. So express gratitude. Also, when there's a lot of negative emotions, There's a lot of toxicity. Sometimes we end up in bad situations, bad relationships, bad jobs, bad bosses. There's a lot of unhappiness within us, and you feel that I have to go and do something good, then go party or go shopping, and then I will feel good. Gratitude can help you wash away those toxic feelings. The only thing about gratitude is that it will take time. Shopping may make you feel damn good, retail therapy very good, immediately, instant gratification, but it's not going to last. Gratitude may take time to make you feel better, and it will last. Okay. um, Gratitude also has lasting effects on the brain, and surprisingly, even with long-term patients who have been long-term suffering from depression have benefited from just being able to write a gratitude diary. Kindness, I spoke about this earlier also. It's so important. Being kind, doing something for another person, not because you're getting anything out of it, just because the other person needs it, and doing it happily without resentment. Interesting thing is, when they did research, they found that people who practice kindness are happier than people who go to church or who do exercise. So it doesn't matter if you don't go to church. I know the priests are going to not be happy with this. If you're not going to church, not going to gym, it's fine. Be kind. You'll be a lot more happier. There's something called as a helper's high. So when you help somebody, you get a high. The reward centers in your brain light up. Again, neurological. Reduces pain, stress, blood pressure, depression, everything. And the best part about kindness is it's contagious. You start being kind to people around you, eventually they also have nothing else to do. They will, it annoys them so much that they start doing it. And then once they realize how much it feels good, they continue it. So you can be kind. You can teach kids to be kind. Can't force it down them, but be a model to them. And the last two, exercise and sleep. And how do we talk about this? Everybody knows the benefits of exercise. Whichever exercise works for you, go. Today in Alzheimer's research, they are saying that don't give the patients of Alzheimer's or who are likely to get Alzheimer's, instead of giving them brain exercises, make them walk. Movement of the legs is supposed to improve memory. So get up, get moving. This is a 40-minute lecture. You've sat through it. After this, get up, walk around a bit, walk for at least another 20 minutes before you come back and sit in front of the screen. Sleep. Sleep is the biggest problem, is the biggest casualty of our lifestyle. People think 4 hours, 5 hours sleep. I have 4 hours, 5 hours of deep sleep and I feel very good. You try sleeping for 7 hours every night, and then you compare the feeling good after 5 and the feeling good after 7, and then tell me what works better. Even one night of poor sleep causes you to lose brain tissue. Gentlemen, maybe you should also keep this in mind. It affects your sperm count. It affects obesity, diabetes, stroke. It allows you to learn better. So, kids, see, what happens is kids learn at the school students, college students, they study one night before, they cram everything and they go and vomit it out on the paper. But that is, what we call trial and error learning. That is, there's no true learning. It's not insight learning. In psychology, I think in TY we do this, no problem solving, trial and error learning versus insight learning. So when you're getting educated, you want to gain insights. That insightful learning happens if you've slept well. They've done this by giving their experimental participants, they would give them some puzzles to do when they've slept well for 5 hours or 6 hours according to their routine, and then they are made to sleep a little longer as per the experimenter's routine. Results are always better when they sleep longer. There is a basis, physical basis even for that. Again, like I said before, I am not saying this mildly, that I know that there are people who have suffered intensely and are suffering intensely because of depression. It's often referred to as the black dog, which makes you it's like this long dark tunnel which you can't get out of. And it will take help. It will need you to sometimes probably take medication and therapy. Not necessary that only therapy will be helpful. But go out there and get that help, because don't let society tell you that you have to be happy. Go and get that help, because you have to let go of the black dog and start living your life, not just to be happy. And I want to end with asking people this: what's wrong with being unhappy? The greatest works of art, the greatest works of creativity, all of this comes when people are unhappy. Sadness has created great works of art. I'm not saying happy people haven't, but creativity, research is showing this, creativity is higher when people are sadder. Why this mad chasing of only happiness? We are only chasing happiness. Stop the chase. It is a monster because it is taking you away from eudaimonia towards hedonism. Happiness is a myth because the entire system, the entire commercial system is geared towards wanting to make you happy because it's good for commerce. not because it's good for you. So with that, I end with 2 minutes left, and that's my book, Go Buy It, available on Kindle, Amazon, Facebook, whatever, everything. And that's my YouTube channel. This will go on YouTube also. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I think you have a well-executed plan for the presentation, exactly how completed the session. Thank you so much, ma'am. And then there are many points. I feel that as a student, now I'm a student, I'm learning a lot of inputs on that happiness. Even I'm teaching, but I can see the different perspective. And one more point, what I observed, the slide which I have prepared looks like what I prepared. So that is the similarity I found, ma'am. I would like to make a compliment here. Thank you so much for amazing presentation. There are many key points there, and then how we can become a happy. You have highlighted that kindness, gratitude, helping others. These are the important things. But many people are thinking that materialistic happiness is like happiness, but that is not wrong. That's not true. But you have done an amazing job here for us to understand what is happiness. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
See, now Dr. Veena will take over, queuing the questions. So maybe if we are getting disconnected, we will come back and we will continue with the Q&A session.
Log in from the, yeah. All right. Yeah.
Thank you. Log in from the same link.
Same
Thank you.
ID. Thank you.